All right, I'm starting this stream a couple minutes early, about 3 minutes early. Reason why we have a CPI that's about to drop. Let's take a look at the economic events here. Yeah, so 8:30 here. You have the core CPI, CPI, all that's gonna drop. We'll see how that affects the market. The anticipation is obviously bullish. Um, it's a pretty big drop bullish too because you're going from 4 to 3.1. So anything at 3.1 or lower, markets are going to shoot. Anything below or near 4, markets are going to dump. If you look at the SPY, we'll talk about that real quick. If you look at the peaks that we're at, right? So we rejected here at 443.89. We rejected here up here at 444.28. And then we're just kind of sitting here on 443.84. We rejected in the after hours. And it's just kind of hanging here, guys. So the market's going to be extremely fragile, I guess, depending what it drops. Because if the news drops even a hint of kind of bearish, right, the market's going to just absolutely plunge because you can see it's already rejected from these levels a lot of times. But if the market does hit that target and it does come out bullish, we're going to see a pretty wild wick north, right? Now, keep in mind, it's news. So the initial drop could see a huge wick and then an absolute massive correction, right? So don't chase the wicks, guys, on these news. If you're not already in something in anticipation of the news, you want to kind of hang out and wait and see what happens. What happens after? And you can see we're starting to get some movement here. So let's watch it. I'm not going to do too much of the TA yet. Let's just see where we go. All right, we had a big old candle north. Let's see. Here we are pushing north. So you can see that explosion north on the drop is likely because the news ended up coming out. I don't have the chart up here, so we're just gonna let this simmer down here. So let's take a look at crypto while we're seeing where the SPY lands. So we're up at 445 or so on the SPY. Actually, let's take a look. Let's go to like the daily. Let's see where are we gonna find resistance on top of that. Let's see. So we are up here at 445.62 or so. Next level of resistance could be really as high as 450. Let's see if there's anything else that we can line up to set up our trades today. So this right here is our line. This is going to be a pretty strong line because you do have your peak and your peak here, as well as it looks like it hit the peak there. So let's see where that puts us at. So pre-market, we're going to be above that line. So let's see if this line can hold. If this line can hold, we should see pretty nice movement up north. If the line cannot hold, then we're going to see that drop down. So let's see if the website's updated that reports there. Takes a minute. Takes a minute to update there. So we'll give that a couple minutes. But yeah, so far the initial looks like it's up for sure. So let's talk about crypto. Crypto is obviously pumping as well. Let's see where the ceiling could be for Bitcoin. If y'all remember, this peak here around 31,045 is kind of what we have been talking about. So if it can break above that, we should see a pretty nasty explosion north. I'd probably say if you take this white line, this is what we've been drawing. 31,560 would be a peak with the push north with the news, and then the low obviously could be around 29,985. So, but let's let this settle. Let's see how it's impacting the dollar, because that's going to be the key, right? So the VIX actually took a dump on the news, which is why, obviously, because the news is bullish. You got the dollar also took a dump, so that's pushing the markets north. So let's see where the dollar can land here. So the dollar actually did take its little drop here. You can see from the rejection on the daily, 200 EMA. It did break this little minor trend line that we were talking about. That's the news that pushed that through. So I would look for the support level of 100.84. Even with the news, if that can hold, right, then we might get a bounce north off of this, just like we did here before. And that bounce north would bring the markets back down. If you notice, we do have kind of an upper trend line like that. And then you have this lower trend line like that. Now, what I would probably do is I'm going to take that trend line away because we had already broken it. And I'm going to put a line like that. And I'm curious if we're just going to continue with this like descending style triangle where, we're getting our peaks, our bottom, our peak, our bottom, and then we'll probably, if we bounce off of this, maybe for one more oscillation for the peak and the bottom, and then that might be the break for the dollar on that descending triangle. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. SPY looks like it's settling after that burst. We'll see if it's got enough juice to burst again when the market opens. This line is going to be the line to watch. If it can hold above this line, then we definitely have some more upside. If it can't hold this line, then the breakdown should be pretty strong. So let's take a look at the tech stocks. I'm not really jumping deep into the news, guys, because a lot of the into the TA, because a lot of times I don't even do the huddles on news event days, because news is news. You can trade the news, and we make a lot of money on the news, but it's really difficult to do the TA because news trumps all. So if no matter what the market shows that it could be doing, if the news comes out to not support it or against that, then it's not gonna be good. Oh yeah, this is why I did it. Remember what we were talking about, right? So the goal was 3.1. We actually came in at 3, which is just huge. Not to mention, we had the core CPI at 0.4. Last month it came out at 0.3. Now it's at 0.2. So that's definitely what's pushing us. What's pushing us north. We have crude oil inventories at 1030. Bunch of other news across the world. So I would be really careful. Scalp the shorts. That's fine. But the news is going to hit, and it's going to put us in a very high area. So taking longs, or calls at market open is going to be dangerous, because we're going to push north with that news being so bullish like that. But how far north is the question, right? That we're not sure. So before we have some kind of retracement. So, but the news did come out bullish, like we talked about. So we'll see how it actually opens. If people decide to take their profit when it opens, we might have that pullback initially. Market might open and just explode because people, see how bullish that actually is. So my suggestion is at market open, I'm not going to take a trade right away. I'll wait and see where this lands, and then write it back down in a put. So. All right, let me go back to crypto. Let's talk about ETH. So we already talked about Bitcoin. ETH is pushing back up to that 1900 range. Remember we talked about if that breaks that 1900, it's going to likely come up and test the 1930 range. And we could probably see a high as high as 1950 or even 1969 before we get a rejection with this bullish news. So the low for ETH, we still have around 1840. The absolute low would be around 1711 if it gets any kind of reversal tank. We still kind of have this like head and shoulder pattern that we're looking at here that could drop that down pretty well. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. So yeah, and then as far as the ATA goes, guys, we're not in a long. We're actually in a put. So we'll see how that plays out with the news, right? Where this all lands. We do have the calls that we can take. I'm gonna go ahead and turn those back on. We're gonna do 2-day contracts with the calls with the parabolic SARS. We'll let it trade till about 3 o'clock. And then DCAs, we'll keep that all the same. And then 711, let's see, 712 at 9:30. We'll close trade on chart. And then we'll set that stop loss too in case it comes against us at all. So let's add that alert. Let me pull this off real fast. I want to make sure I was playing with my webhook. Create. All right, so we got that in there. I'm going to allow the ATA to run some calls on there, but we do have that stop loss on there. Just because we're going to have a lot of push up, pull down as it tries to climb, right? So the longs actually could do really well as far as the ATA goes. So, but again, like I said, this one I'm going to keep fairly short. I don't even usually do TA on these days because again, the news can just change everything. My advice to you, if your anticipation was to play the news and your anticipation was bullish and you entered a call yesterday or a long yesterday, congrats, you made a lot of money. If you did not enter it already, I would be very careful on market up and entering something. I would wait for some form of a pullback if you want to stay bullish because of the news being so bullish, and you want to take those longs. That's fine, but just let the market pull back a little bit before you hop back into that. Find some kind of lower support or something, and it could be something as simple as you can take these lines here like that. Right, and then as this opens, just let it pull back a little bit, and then ride that back up. Because taking anything up here, like I said, I get it. The news was bullish. Yeah, you could ride waves up. But y'all have to remember, we are so. I mean, if you look at the range that we're in, we're so high in this range. This is not even funny. And we're coming up to some crazy resistance levels that even in the bull market, pulled back. So, even in the bull market at 453.95, it tanked, all the way back down to 426. So, even up here, 473, right, tanked all the way back to 448. So we're getting into a very, very, very heavy resistance zone. So I'm not saying don't take calls today because we have broken some levels that would allow that to take place. I'm just simply saying no matter what stock you're playing, no matter what, if you're doing SPY or SPX, just wait for pullbacks. Let the market open, let it finish. It's a little tantrum. Find the trend and then chase it. If you're long, you don't want to chase the green candles. You want to catch the pullback on the red candles and then ride them up. If you're still a put person, if you're bearish and you're like, I get it, the news was good, but I think we're gonna have a nasty pullback, then just let it move it north and as much as it needs to, and then once you start to see that lower high or lower low begin to form, right, then you can take that put. So, and if you're not sure, come into the room, right, botjock.com. So if you're not sure on the website, that is right here. You can see on TikTok, botjock. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream a little bit early, guys. Again, we'll talk to you guys in the room here in about. I'll open the room up about 9:15, and then we'll trade the market open. So until then, just let the pre-market do do what it does, you can see it's already pulling back, right, from that push north. So again, news or not, if this line does not hold, so it's got to hold, in my opinion, at least 445 at market open. Otherwise, it's gonna, if it can't hold it, man, the push down is gonna be crazy. So I don't know, with the news being so bullish, I don't know that we're setting up for any kind of crash by any means. But a healthy pullback would not be surprising. So if you look at the 1 hour, the 438.92 is our 200, a 442.03 is our 21. So that somewhere along the line, today or tomorrow, that pulling back to that would be that healthy pullback that we're talking about. So, but I appreciate y'all's time. I'm gonna end the video, and we'll talk to you in the room.